All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Health Advantage podcast. I'm Giacomo, I'm your host, and today I'm going to be talking to you about what I would actually do if I were to go into a fat loss phase as of now, and what I actually do when I do go into fat loss phases, into cutting, as we call it in bodybuilding. So, there are obviously a few things, and I want to share the most effective strategies, both when it comes to science and also practice and common sense put together. And I also want to talk about after what are the things I will actually not do and what are actually the things I will shy away from as much as possible. Okay, but enough of this, and let's try and get started. So the first thing that we'll obviously do is to start tracking my calories, start tracking my macronutrients as well. That means obviously fat, protein, and carbs, as well as fiber. As we currently know, obviously, that there are not just three macronutrients, but there are five. So fats, protein, carbs, fiber is counted as a macronutrient, and alcohol is also counted as a macronutrient. So obviously, I will track to have an idea of where I am and where I need to be in case for the fat loss that I want to achieve. Uh, what what I want to say about tracking calories is that it is not necessary, but it's very useful. And there are different ways to track calories. You don't have to be quantitative about it. You can be qualitative about it. In case you get too obsessed with numbers or you just can't stand tracking precisely to the gram. It does not have to be like that. And again, I teach my clients to track in different ways that can suit more their style of training, but also the personality and the lifestyle as well. But yes, that would definitely, I will start from there. And so I could have obviously a bigger picture of where I am, but also a bigger picture of where I need to be to achieve my goal. The second thing is obviously to have to actually set the goal. So not just saying I want to lose fat for the sake of losing fat, but I don't know actually how much and by when and for what reason. So I'll actually set a specific goal. I'll try and be as realistic as possible with the timings as well. Obviously, if I want to lose 20 kilos, I won't say I want to lose 20 kilos by tomorrow, by next week. So let's say my goal is actually to lose 20 kilos. I will probably look ideally in 24 months. So in 6 months, in 24 weeks. So 6 months. Given the fact that I can be on time all the time, that's a big goal. And again, depending on the level of obesity of being overweight I am, probably the first few kilos will come out way quicker than the last few. But also it's true that we need to consider that if we are strength training, which will be because that is one of the following points. If we are strength training, some of the numbers won't exactly match because what we will be losing in body fat, we might probably gain in muscle mass and strength. Therefore, I wouldn't necessarily get too much aimed on to the number per se. And this leads me on to the point number 3, which is I will have some other measurements to essentially track if I am progressing or not. I will not just rely on the scale because, as I said, obviously the scale, the weight will fluctuate anyways. But if we are on a fat loss phase, there is a possibility to incur, unless we are in a very deep deficit, to incur in some muscle mass actually firming if we are strength training and eating adequate protein and whatnot, or ticking all the other boxes essentially. So therefore, the weight might not come down as much as we want it to be because as we might lose fat, we might gain muscle mass. So the numbers might not come as down as we want it to be, even though the body fat is actually decreasing as much as we want. So point number 3, as I said, is to actually specify. I have a different way of tracking, not just relying on the scale, but for example, like progress pictures. I love progress pictures. They are the easiest and quickest way to track and to assess if you're actually progressing or not, and they're much easier to standardize compared to measurements. You can also take tape measurements, but one, you have to be quite precise and accurate with us measuring the same spot every time, and so therefore that can be a bit tricky. So point number 4, relating to the setting the long-term goal, I will actually have a look at the calendar when I decide for the time frame or the goal I want to achieve, and I will try and break down as much as possible long um, that long-term goal into smaller chunks. So, for example, let's say we said we want to lose 20 kilos in 6 months. I will probably break that goal down into at least half term, so 3 months, 3 months target, so 12 weeks. And then I will break it down even more every 4 week. Okay, so I want to have at least a reasonable amount of weight to lose in those 4 weeks. In every chunk of those 4 weeks. And the other reason why I want to look at the calendar for is to actually see what's going to be going on in my life for the next 6 months. Can I be on plan? Will I be able to commit to the plan at least 80% of the time, which is probably the a realistic measurement or a realistic feature if we want to commit to the goal and actually trying to achieve it. Therefore, that obviously leads me to the next point, which is once I get the schedule out and once I planned out what the next 6 months will look like, and once I have what really want to get out of this, what I need to do on a daily basis to actually make sure that I will be more prone to succeed into my goal. And that obviously covers the next few steps that I'm gonna talk about. So most of them are daily, and some of them can be broken down as weekly, and we'll see by what I mean. So first and foremost, we have to have a look at what we're actually doing in terms of daily movement. That I think is point number 5. So have a look at daily movement, in particular daily steps. Obviously, it's easier to track, easy to manage even. So therefore, I'll have a look at what I'm doing currently now. What's my weekly average? What's my monthly average of my steps? And I'll try and increase this by no more than 15 to 20% to begin with. Okay, this is the beginning of the phase. I would then obviously go and aim to hit the gym regularly, at least 2 or 3 times per week, and having a solid resistance training in place. I would aim to increase and eat my protein daily target every single day, and to spread my protein target throughout the day as well. That means having some protein for breakfast, having some protein for lunch, having some protein for dinner, and hopefully and ideally a small protein snack as well during the day, depending again on how big the deficit is. And the next point is that I will actually aim to increase also not just the protein intake, but the fiber intake with every meal. And that is, by that I mean fruits and vegetables. So I'll try to eat as much as possible, excuse me, I'll try to eat as much as possible fruits and vegetables. First of all, to promote more a healthier digestive system that will allow me to absorb and distribute the nutrients that I eat regularly. But also, and importantly, is because protein as well as fiber, dietary fiber, will increase the satiety levels that I feel after a meal, and therefore I will feel fuller for longer. So then the next and the last 3 points that I'll make sure I commit to is to prioritize and to have more sleep, or as much sleep as I possibly can. Because again, sleep is the point during the day where the body comes back to homeostasis, so everything comes back to balance. If I don't sleep well, obviously my cognitive ability would be impaired, but also my hormonal balance will be affected, and therefore I won't be able to regulate my appetite as well as I could. And also I won't be able to recover from training, and I won't be able to adapt to training. So again, I won't be able to grow as much lean mass, and my hormone like leptin and ghrelin, which are responsible for hunger regulation and society would be out of whack, and that's what might lead me to eat more, to overeat, or to be more prone to gravitate towards more hyperpalatable food. After this, I will try and commit to eating bigger meals than what I normally have. So rather than having 5 or 6 meals spreading out throughout the day, if I can have 3 big meals and a little snack, that would be awesome. So the bigger your meals, the better it is, because again, if your meals are big and are packed with protein and fiber, as I said, fruits and vegetables, those are gonna make you full, make you feel fuller for longer, and therefore you're gonna essentially manage your hunger much better, and you're gonna suffer much less cravings and hunger whilst being on a calorie deficit where you're actually trying to lose fat. For that's the goal. And last but not least, I was trying to drink as much water as I can. Okay. If I was drinking 2 liters, I'll try and drink at least 2.5. So drinking 2.5, at least I'll try to drink at least 3 liters per day. I will not go anywhere below 2.5 liters a day. Again, water is very important for a lot of different reasons. In this context, I would say that first of all, water helps us again feel fuller, and it helps us deal with hunger. But also, sometimes we confuse hunger for thirst. Sometimes you're dehydrated, we're not hydrated as much as we could, and sometimes that can be confused from the body as hunger. So those are my main points. I think I mentioned 9 or 10. I lost count, but those are the things I would do if I have to start today, and these are the things that actually I do when I have to go onto a fat loss phase or onto a cutting phase, as I said. And now let's talk a bit more about the things that I would not do, and I'll actually encourage you not to do, and unfortunately, I see them quite often. So first and foremost, I will not exclude food groups. Okay, so for example, keto diet, excluding carbohydrates, going vegan, all the stuff. Again, very not recommendable, let's say. First and foremost, you're making the diet way harder for you because you're restricting yourself, not just from eating calories, but also restricting yourself from another thing. So you're doubling down on the restrictions. And again, this has been shown in research multiple times. Again, by now, the more the restrictions, essentially, the harder our life is going to be, and the more likely we are to give up onto our efforts and to just and endeavors and to just eat as much as we can. So again, we want to try and make these periods the least suffering possible, and therefore we want to try and make it as inclusive as possible. So rather than trying to exclude food, include foods, and rather than trying to aim to eat less, aim to eat more, but with more protein, with more fiber, with more water. Okay, so that's definitely number one, and definitely probably one of the most important ones, and one of the most common that I see on a regular basis. Now, the second one relates to this, is to try and I would highly avoid trying to cut as much food as possible, as quickly as possible. Again, there is a tendency of going full out. Okay, I decided I want to do it now, so I need to really show it. So therefore, I'm going to try and lose as much as possible, as quickly as I possibly can. And therefore, I'm going to just stop eating. Again, very bad idea for a variety of reasons. Yes, you're gonna lose faster, but as I said, like, you're gonna struggle much more with managing hunger. Therefore, you might suffer a lot more. You're gonna increase your stress levels. You're gonna increase your diet fatigue much quicker, and again, you're much more likely to fall into a negative spiral, which has only one way out, which is you breaking out the diet and just completely wasting your efforts to counteract. Obviously, the body is our bodies are built to survive, and the survival instincts are going to kick in. So if you're not careful to manage those survival instincts and to try and be smart, we're just going to end up crushing ourselves, even though we might feel that we can do it for a short period of time. Again, in a long period of time, it's never gonna work. Plus, even though, let's say, you do have incredible willpower and you manage to cut your foods for a big chunk of time and for a quite a good amount. But again, at some point, as I said, like the survival mechanism of the body will not just trigger your hunger, but also will lower your resting metabolic rate, meaning you won't consume as much calories at rest and doing normal activities. So essentially, your body will slow your metabolism down to try and survive. Again, survival mechanism. You cannot beat your body. Your body is smarter than you. You can only try and go and take measurements to try and tackle one thing at a time. Now, having said that enough, what's the number three? The third thing that you're doing more often than not, again, is not it's never conducive to good results, and again, it's never conducive to good results that last, because you might, as I said, be able to get to a good point because you have massive strength and willpower, but then again, you might crash at some point, and you might revert back to your previous state and to your previous habits. And this is point number three: is going all out on cardio, doing a lot of cardio, endless cardio, long time, long intensity, long efforts. Again, not the way. You cannot out exercise a bad diet. And exercise should not be to again lose weight. Exercise should really, and exercise is really about obviously getting fitter, increasing your cardiovascular fitness, your cardiorespiratory fitness, increasing your strength levels, increasing your muscle mass, all these things, but these are not to lose weight and to lose body fat. Okay, body fat comes out from consistently reducing your caloric intake. That's as simple as it is. And yes, you might increase your caloric expenditure by doing more exercise, but again, depending on the level of exercise, you're probably going to feel hungrier, because again, going back to the survival mechanism of the body, the intelligence of the body that we cannot outsmart. Again, this has been proved by research multiple times. It's not me saying it, it's just me quoting science research. The body adapts to the exercise that we do to consume less and less calories and to try and become more efficient, essentially, and trying to survive. So again, if you're trying to outsmart your body, you will fail. Now, point number four: eyeballing protein servings, eyeballing meal servings, eyeballing serving size, eyeballing stuff. Unless you are very experienced in tracking, again, that takes a few years. I would probably say that I'm still not there, and I've been tracking for a while by now. We always end up under consuming protein as a society. We always end up under consuming fibers as a society. In fact, if you think about that, the average required, the minimum required for an adult is 25-30 grams per day. And I bet, from what I've seen from myself, from my clients, and from our diet in general, we probably nowhere near there unless we make a conscious effort to increase our fruits and vegetables. So again, eyeballing stuff rather than naturally tracking and taking some care and some time to make sure what we're eating is what we need and is ticking all the boxes. It's not a very productive way, and it's not very conducive to achieving a goal if we are actually serious to achieving a goal. There are occasions where obviously we are not going to be able to track to the dot, to the gram, and as I said, it's absolutely fine. And this is the times where we can eyeball stuff and just have a looser approach, but that cannot be all of the time. Okay, if that's most of the time or all of the time, it's not going to work. Okay. Now, the next point is what I will not do is to eat every day, one day at a time, essentially. To not have a long-term plan, to not have decided when my goal is going to be, when I'm going to start, when I'm going to finish, to actually be able to track it. If we don't make any boundaries, and if we again let everything loose and just see how we go with the day, we're going to fall trap of instant gratification. We're gonna fall trap of life getting in the way, essentially, because we're not committed to something. We are not committed. We're not deciding ourselves to commit to something, and we're just like living life as it was before, which is not going to be any different. The other point, and this goes back to exercise and less cardio, and this is the other thing that I will not do. Well, I highly stress to try and avoid is to exercise as a way to punish yourself or to use it as a way to get rid of guilt for having indulgence on foods, or for having ate too much, or for having drank too much, or for having, God knows, or deviated from the original plan. Okay, this is something that again is very toxic for our relationship both with food and with exercise, and we need to try and keep this as sacred as we possibly can. So it will happen. It's not just it might, it will happen that you will deviate, it will happen that you will indulge, it will happen that you will automatically fall trap sometimes of instant gratifications, and that is fine. And there is no need to not turn the page, just start off fresh. You don't need to constantly punish yourself for things that might have happened, because at the end of the day, it's just going to make things worse, both for your goal and for your mental state. So ultimately, we want to chase a goal to make us feel better, to make us feel good about ourselves. If this is all making us feel worse about ourselves and ruining our relationship with food and ruining our relationship with exercise, like God knows what other relationship is ruining, it's not really worth it. So again, trying to separate the feeling good with the trying of the feeling of having to punish yourself, or of having to get rid of guilt. And last but not least, what I will highly stress will not do, and what I will highly avoid to do, is to follow someone else's plan, to follow someone else's diet, to follow someone else's macros, to follow someone else's calories, to follow someone else's whatever. Just because Brenda from HR did HIIT workout every day and all the carbs, and went vegan for a week, it does not mean that that's going to work for us. We are all different persons. We're all unique people. And what works for Brenda from HR, what works for Steve from the office next to us, is not going to work for us. So good for them, but leave them to them and leave you to you. So you work with your own coach, with your own plan, with your own macros, with your own calories, and you take care of your own training. And you decide based on obviously the guidance you receive, and the things that you like to do, and the things that you want to do, and your goal especially. Because again, your goal is also going to be different from Brenda from HR and Steve from the office next door. So that is it really. That is really what I wanted to cover today. Pretty much, again, what I will do and what I will not do if I have to go into a fat loss phase as of now. Again, nothing out of the box. I hope it was pretty much just a repetition of things that you already knew, you already heard of. I hope it was a comprehensive enough guide for you to incorporate in your fat loss journey when and if you ever need. Obviously, it might sound cliche, but it's never a sprint. It's always a marathon, like life and like everything else. The more you're trying to force things out of time, and the more you're trying to put time pressure, the more the results are going to suffer, and the more the process is going to be very, very not enjoyable. So equip yourself obviously with knowledge, but also with patience. It takes time, and it takes much more less time to eat a lot of calories than to lose body weight and body fat. So that's it really. That's my honest and truthful opinion, and a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of experience there. So thank you very much again for your time. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll speak to you next time.